뭐가 들었을 것 같냐?
저한텐 그저 돈일 뿐입니다.
Let me tell you about a drama that's going to make you rethink the words family values. This one isn't your usual adopt a puppy and live happily ever after kind of story. Nope. This is The Defects, a dark, twisted tale about kids who got the short end of the adoption stick and the monsters pulling the strings behind the scenes. If you thought bad parents were the worst thing in the world, wait until you meet the people in this show. Trust me, your jaw will hit the floor so hard you'll need a crane to pick it back up. So, what's the deal? On the surface, The Defects looks like your standard crime thriller. But oh no, this baby goes deep. It digs right into the rotten core of illegal adoptions, where kids are treated like products on clearance. You know those inspirational quotes about every child deserves a loving home? Well, in this universe, that motto got thrown out the window and hit by a truck on its way down. The story kicks off with a woman named Kim Se-hee. To the world, she's a saint, a doctor, a hospital director, a beacon of charity who runs an orphanage and helps kids in need. A round of applause for Saint Se-hee, right? Wrong. Behind that polished image, she's the queen-pin of a massive black market adoption ring. And she's not just sitting in a fancy chair signing paperwork. Oh no, this woman is playing God with kids' lives, deciding who's perfect and who's defective. Spoiler, if you've got a limp, a scar, or your IQ doesn't sparkle like diamonds, you're out of luck. And what happens to these so-called defects? Returned like a broken toaster. Some get abandoned. Others, well, let's just say their lives become very useful for people with very bad intentions. It's brutal, it's heartbreaking, and it's all happening while society claps for Se-hee's charity galas. Lovely, isn't it? Enter our heroine, Kim Ah-yeon. She's not your average K-drama lead who spends half the show crying prettily in the rain. Nope. Ah-yeon is a survivor. She went through the adoption meat grinder and came out with scars you can't see on her face but feel in every step she takes. Instead of curling into a ball and giving up, she decides to fight back. And not just for herself, for every kid who got tossed aside like expired yogurt. She builds a little resistance squad of misfits like her, each with their own tragic backstory, and together they plan to tear down Se-hee's empire brick by brick. But let's add another piece to this puzzle. Remember how every good thriller needs a scary villain? Well, meet Jung-hyeon. If you're picturing some cartoonish bad guy twirling his mustache, stop right there. This dude is scarier because he doesn't look scary, at least not at first glance. Jung-hyeon is the result of Se-hee's sick little science experiment, a boy raised to be a human weapon. He has no feelings, no conscience, no hesitation. When Se-hee says jump, he doesn't even ask how high. He just jumps straight through the stratosphere. If the devil needed a poster child, Jung-hyeon would be on billboards everywhere. Now, before we get to the explosions, gunfights, and all that fun stuff, let's rewind to 2011. Picture this. A lonely warehouse at night. Two guys, Tae-sik and his buddy Dong-chol, show up for a job. They're not criminal masterminds, okay? These are regular guys trying to make a quick buck by hauling some heavy stuff. Big suitcases, boxes, and chunks of cast iron. No questions asked. In fact, their golden rule is don't ask, don't care. As long as the paycheck clears, life is good. But then the rule gets tested. Tae-sik is about to dump particularly large suitcase into a molten bath when, wait for it, the thing moves. Like, wiggle wiggle move. He freezes. Suitcases don't move, right? Not unless you've accidentally packed your pet hamster, and this thing is way too big for a hamster. Tae-sik unzips the suitcase and boom, there's a child inside. A real, breathing, wide-eyed kid who starts crying and begging, please, save me. And just like that, Tae-sik's world does a 180. He's no saint, but even he's not about to roast a kid alive. Meanwhile, across town, Ah-yeon walks into a safe house, a shabby little place that looks like it's held together with duct tape and bad memories. Inside are a handful of kids, all survivors of this messed up system, each carrying enough trauma to write a best-selling memoir. The house might not have much, but it does have one thing, a police radio scanner. These kids are so used to running from trouble that they listen in on law enforcement like it's their favorite podcast. Among them is Somi, a teenager with eyes full of questions and a heart full of ache. She still wonders about the woman she once called Mom, the same woman who tossed her aside like garbage. Ah-yeon tries to distract her the best way anyone knows how in a K-drama, by offering fried chicken. And honestly, who can stay sad when there's crispy golden chicken on the table? But don't let the chicken fool you. These kids are fighters. Later that night, they pull a little mission at a gambling den. The plan? Grab some quick cash. The reality? Pure chaos. Ah-yeon and her buddy Sokso try to bluff their way in, but when the guard asks for the password, they're like, password 123? Yeah, that doesn't fly. So what do? They start swinging fists. Next thing you know, it's full-on WWE in the gambling den. Meanwhile, Somi and Joan sneak around to the back, take out a guard, and try to crack open a safe upstairs. They're scrappy, I'll give them that. And here's the kicker. They actually pull it off. They survive a mob of angry thugs and even trick them with a fake police siren sound from Somi's phone. Genius move, right? But here's the twist. They don't take the money. Nope. Ah-yeon only grabs enough for, you guessed it, fried chicken. Because apparently, when you're fighting systemic corruption and human trafficking, finger-licking good chicken is a priority. When they return, Uncle Tae-sik, yeah, the same guy from the warehouse, is waiting. And oh boy, he's mad. Not because they robbed a gambling den. He couldn't care less about that. He's furious because they left the safe house without telling him. Why? Because if these kids get caught, they don't just disappear. They die. And Tae-sik, gruff as he is, doesn't want any more dead kids on his conscience. Of course, teenage rebellion kicks in. Somi throws a fit. She's tired of living like a ghost, hiding in a house without names, without futures. She'd rather die than keep living this way. But Ah-yeon shuts her down with one line. We don't want to die. And then she reminds everyone why they're here. Because once upon a time, these kids were inches away from being dumped in a cement bath. If Tae-sik hadn't saved them, they'd be nothing but a tragic news headline. And that, my friends, is just the tip of the iceberg. Because while the kids are bickering about freedom and fried chicken, the real villains are plotting something way darker. So, while the kids are eating their hard-earned chicken and dreaming of better days, Tae-sik is out there juggling a double life. He's trying to keep these kids safe, but here's the thing. Tae-sik isn't exactly squeaky clean. He used to work for the same network that ruined these kids in the first place. Yeah, talk about a messy resume. Now, he's trying to atone for his sins, but karma has a way of showing up with a baseball bat. Back at the top of this rotten food chain, our queen of evil, Kim Se-hee, is making the rounds at her orphanage. To the untrained eye, she's an angel in designer heels, hugging kids, smiling for photos, sprinkling hope like confetti. The kids call her ma'am, and she soaks it up like a cat in a sunbeam. But make no mistake, this woman is not knitting sweaters for the needy. No, she's running a business. One where kids are inventory and emotions are liabilities. And just when you think Se-hee can't get worse, let me introduce you to her favorite pet project, Jung-hyeon. Remember him? The human Terminator with a soul as cold as an ice cube in Antarctica? He's not just loyal, he's programmed. Se-hee raised him like a gardener raises a bonsai tree, trimmed all the feelings, shaped the mind, and made sure he'd break bones without blinking. And when someone becomes too curious, like say a journalist digging into baby trafficking among the elite, guess who shows up to clean house? That's right, Jung-hyeon. And by clean house, I mean throw the poor guy off a rooftop like yesterday's trash. Lesson of the day. Don't mess with the network unless you've got wings. Meanwhile, in a shiny private classroom, rich parents are arguing about IQ scores like their kids are auditioning for Mensa. One mom is furious because her son, little Siwoo, didn't make the cut. He flubbed an English debate and scored too low for the math elite club. Big deal, right? Wrong. In this world, if your kid isn't a walking brainiac, you might as well tattoo defective on their forehead. And this mom? She's not taking average for an answer. She storms out of that classroom like a woman on a mission. A very scary mission. Turns out, Siwoo isn't even her biological kid. Plot twist. He's adopted. The only reason she wanted him was to impress her in-laws because her husband's swimmers are basically on strike. But now that Siwoo isn't giving Einstein vibes, guess what? She wants a refund. Yep, a refund. Like he's a faulty toaster. So what does she do? Calls Tae-sik. Because apparently, in this world, disposing of a child is just one phone call away. Dong-chul, Tae-sik's buddy, overhears this and loses it. Even a dog doesn't get tossed out like this, he says. And honestly, preach, Dong-chul. Anyway, Siwoo's mom takes him to the park, pretending everything's peachy. I'm just gonna grab a drink, she says sweetly, then ghosts him like a bad Tinder date. Meanwhile, she calls her husband to break the news. Siwoo failed the test, honey. Time to trade up. And the husband? He's hesitant, but still rolls with it, because apparently, integrity isn't trending in this family. Poor Siwoo is sitting there on a swing, probably wondering why mom's drink run is taking longer than the Lord of the Rings trilogy, when Tae-sik shows up. He tells Siwoo that mom fainted and they need to get to the hospital. Siwoo, being 11 and still trusting adults, goes with him. Meanwhile, mom's giving an Oscar-worthy performance back at the park, crying about her missing child. The security guard's confused, dad shows up, and suddenly they're the picture of concerned parents. Bravo, you two. Bravo. But here's where it gets spicy. Tae-sik drops the bomb on Siwoo. Kid, you've been kidnapped. And guess who the kidnappers are? Mommy and Daddy. Siwoo's little brain does a backflip. At first, he doesn't believe it. Because, well, who wants to believe that? But Tae-sik lays it out. They're evil. They don't see you as their son. They see you as trash. Ouch. Tae-sik gives him a map to the safe house and tells him to run there. Because if Jung-hyeon catches wind of this, Siwoo is toast. Of course, Siwoo doesn't follow instructions. He spots a payphone and decides to call his mom. Because kids, right? He's sobbing, telling her he's alive, and guess what mom does? Screams in shock and blurts out, "He's still alive!" Her husband, sitting next to her, mutters, "He shouldn't be alive." And that's when Siwoo finally gets it. Mom and Dad don't love him. They want him gone. That scream you hear? That's the sound of Siwoo's childhood shattering into a million pieces. Back at Villain HQ, Jung-hyeon gets the call. Siwoo's alive. And he's not happy. He rings Dong-chul, his voice colder than a tax auditor in January. Find the kid, or you die. Dong-chul is sweating bullets. Meanwhile, Siwoo stumbles to the safe house, rings the bell, and Ah-yeon opens the door like an older sister welcoming home a lost puppy. She tells him he's safe now. Sweet moment, right? Yeah, don't get too comfy. Because over at the casting site, Dong-chul shows up and finds Tae-sik with a suitcase, assuming the job's done. He's relieved until Jung-hyeon walks in like the Grim Reaper in designer shoes. Dong-chul tries to calm him down, swears the kid's handled, but Jung-hyeon's not buying it. Bang! One bullet, and Dong-chul drops. Just like that. Jung-hyeon tells Tae-sik to open the suitcase. Tae-sik, cool as a cucumber, says something like, "You've never seen hell through a child's eyes." Then he grabs a gun, chaos erupts, and Tae-sik makes a break for it. Meanwhile, the kids throw Siwoo a birthday party because, surprise, it's his birthday. They light candles, sing the song, and Siwoo, he just cries. Not because he's happy, because his whole world imploded today. They even give him a new name because his old one is officially dead. But before the frosting dries, police scanners crackle with news. They're looking for an 11-year-old boy near a payphone. Ah-yeon connects the dots. Siwoo called his mom. Great. Now the wolves know where to hunt. Ah-yeon bolts out to find Tae-sik, and just in time too, because Jung-hyeon is on his tail. Cue the car chase. Tae-sik's swerving, Jung-hyeon's ramming, bullets are flying. It's Fast and Furious, Trauma Edition. For a hot second, it looks like Tae-sik might shake him. But nope. Jung-hyeon catches up, shoots him, and sends his car tumbling into a ravine. Boom. Flames. Game over. Ah-yeon arrives just in time to see the fireball that used to be her only protector. And let me tell you, the look on her face could break your heart in 12 languages. Flashback time. The day Tae-sik saved Ah-yeon from being dumped in cement. She gave him a handkerchief with her name on it, Kim Ah-yeon. That moment bonded them for life, and now he's gone. The guy who built this fragile little family of broken kids is just gone. Ah-yeon stands there, smoke in her hair, fire in her eyes, and you know what? Something inside her snaps. She's not running anymore. She's fighting. Because if the world wants to treat them like defects, she's going to show them just how dangerous defects can be.